Hello, 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 and welcome back to That Quirky Bird Girl. I am your host, Steph, and today I will be diving back into the depths of writing a speech that is nearly done and just needs to be practiced a few times moving forward. So I have to go through all the spots in the speech where I put these little brackets in because I didn't finish the thought because I couldn't finish the thought in that moment. Sometimes with ADHD, my thoughts just come at me like bang, 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 bang. But usually doesn't happen consecutively. So I use brackets to help me come back to areas that I've missed and that don't yet make sense for their placement. However, I then go in and fix it when my brain can do the fixing. So that is on brain hack-a-lackin', you know what I'm saying? So I did some of that, and now, or I'm going to also be doing some of that, and now I'm going to dive head in first into doing the phase 2 and actually practice it all. And you're going to lovely, beautifully get an eye on it. And I will also be recording my live speech, which is, get this, tomorrow. Yeah. Sometimes this one thing, that was terrifying to me and is definitely going to challenge me. It's an audience of 200 people. It's completely new. I've never done anything like this where it's like bird guided and it's 20 minutes long. For those of you in the back, did you hear that? 20 minutos. Are you kidding me? Yeah. No, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to be able to do the speech and to be challenging myself in this way, throwing myself out of my comfort zone, because that's something I seem to be so good at. I just, you know, I think that this is not easy for me. It's really hard to write a speech and get deep in the feels and talk about a time in my life that maybe wasn't as peachy, but is a little bit more peachy now. But I'm challenging myself and I'm doing it anyways. I'm doing it afraid. And I want to take you all with me on what it looks like to do something that terrifies you, but is still worthwhile doing. Because ultimately, where I might see myself, y'all, is on a lovely TV screen. Hence, I made a pilot for an episode of a TV show that I see myself doing one day, y'all. I just have this vision of me one day, like walking around with someone, interviewing them, asking them, like questions about the birds we're seeing, about their environment, the work that they've done, the passion that they feel, like asking them all of these things that I genuinely care deeply about, but just being able to get in the weeds and not feel like I'm weird for like just being such like a hyper focused, like detailed person in my questions. And part of that in getting closer to that goal is that I have to start challenging myself in letting myself be misunderstood, because oftentimes people get in front of a camera and they start sharing their story and then they get the media backlash. I've seen this so many times on reality television where they get the backlash and then they're like, oh my gosh, like, and then they go through this whole like self revitalization, self change process where they end up not even being the same person they were from 1 to 2 of the seasons. And that's actually like quite heartbreaking to see, because there's so much life in someone in a first season often, but then as it trickles on, they start to change. I feel like West is a really good example of that from Summer House. But just like having a bunch of opinions out there can make it really difficult, and for someone who doesn't exactly feel comfortable with being misunderstood, that's definitely, a weakness that I have that I want to work on. And so what's the best way that I can do that? Well, a speech is one opportunity. You get out on a stage, it's only you talking, so there's no Q&A, so there's no opportunity for you to get insight on other people's opinions, which honestly keeps me inside of my box most times, because I am a TikTok streamer and I talk a lot about birds online. And often when I say things and people have questions, I have the opportunity to be like, oh, wait, actually, let me integrate this piece of data. And like I've had more time to reflect on it. So maybe my answer's a little bit different now. Like those are processes that I go through when I'm thinking about the different responses that I give to questions that I get. But in that, I still have an opportunity to be like, but I don't have that when I'm giving a speech. I can fully be misunderstood out on that stage and I can't do anything about it. someone could look at me and tell me, hey, you're not queer enough, or hey, you're not neurodivergent enough, or hey, you're not pretty enough, or you're not talented enough. And like someone could say all of these things about me, and I'm just going to have to still be up there, pumped about being up there, excited about delivering a speech in front of 200 people, and sharing my story anyways. I think I'm learning and trying so hard to reinforce to myself that it's okay to be seen trying. And I am so good at trying things, new things especially. And I'm getting acquainted with that feeling. And it's not necessarily the easiest of feelings because it's so new. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's not scary. Okay. That has been like one of the biggest lessons that I have learned. Like, new and scary, scary and exciting, exciting and thrilling, thrilling and anxiety inducing. Like all of these different things just like go through my head, and it could be like one of 1,000. Um, but I don't know. It's fun to think about. And obviously I enjoy talking about my story and how I've gotten here. So this is just an opportunity for me to do better at that. And I'm writing my speech, so it's my tone and my message that I'm sending across. It's not anyone else's. I'm in complete control of that, and that feels absolutely freeing and wonderful. And I'm gonna get so many videos of me performing out on that stage for people where I'm just mimicking y'all. You're gonna love it. I'm mimicking a American Robin. Oh, it's gonna be so cute. I can't wait. So that's what's in the progress or in the works. In addition to that, manifesting my Australian accent because I'm planning to go to Australia. Okay, so I need to actually start writing the pieces that I'm missing in my speech. So let's get back into that. For the most part, I have the whole upfront speech done. But I said, okay, so this is the most recent part. Birds have been my guides throughout my whole life, and they taught me that you don't have to be small to accomplish your goals. Thinking back to the American robin, if they just tiptoed their way across the ground, then they never would have learned that their large stomps could alter the behavior of their prey. And I think it's worth the shot to stomp around, just like an American robin. I've struggled time and time again, from divorce to losing a best friend, but birds have seen me at my lowest and have given me hope to reach my highest. One of the biggest lessons that I learned through birds was that I can embrace something to the fullest and simultaneously accept when it's time for me to walk away. To migrate. Let's just use the language for fun. I don't think I have to say more about that. Birds can also teach us. I like my watch is dinging. Birds can also. I'll check the flow of that when I'm going through and practicing. But birds can also teach us a lot about ourselves. Us. It says is. Okay, including strengths and growth. As mostly autistic people in the crowd, how many times have you had a special interest or hyperfixation where the environment is not entirely suited to you? For example, for me, there's pop punk concerts. I love pop punk music. But a mosh pit is not necessarily suited for me. There are so many strengths that we as autistic people have that are seemingly overlooked or misunderstood. We know that as autistic people, it is easy to feel like we live a life of constantly, I don't know that I want to bring that up. That I'm going to say that I'm excited to share with you today. Okay, we're going to do another activity. And I want people to just like look around and recognize how skillful we are. And it would be helpful for me to have examples of each of these. We're going to do another activity. I want you to stand up or raise both arms. One is not silly enough. If you have any of these skills, detail-oriented thinking. Maybe you're skilled at Legos. Resolve, find problems in your day-to-day. I'm just going to say find problems What's another detail-oriented thing that people do? Oh gosh, what are skilled organization? Those are a few things. Pattern recognition, maybe like psychology, maybe like animal behavior. Maybe you are a trusted friend for advice based on body language. Hyper focus. You have a passion that you love. Get really into boats, Legos, birds, Legos, like literally anything. Intense and infectious curiosity. Your mind wanders and you get excited about new knowledge, truth, it like it is, loyalty. I don't know how to describe. How do you describe loyalty? Like um, you are understanding, empathetic, or kind. Oops. Okay, you have a strong memory. Maybe you're told details, visual thinking. Maybe you're lovers of justice. Okay, creative problem solvers. I feel like that doesn't need to be on there. Oh, my computer's gonna die. And my phone is also at 3%. All right, the first half of the speech is done. Now I'm going to the second half. My speech is done. And it's time for me to practice it. So I am going to have it printed out on paper, so I'm not going to need to recall every single bit of it, but it is important that I look confident while reading. And as someone who's dyslexic, that is an interesting challenge to be thrusted into. But nonetheless, every challenge I accept, every challenge I crush. Yes. All right, here we go. Growing up, okay, let me wear my glasses just because. Growing up, I had passion after passion, falling in love with each one deeper by the minute. A first love of mine was the bright orange and gray bird that woke me up bright and early every morning as a child. I was in love. American robins are goofy, and it felt like their silly behavior gave me the permission that little me needed in order for me to hop around just the same. So what does it look like to live a day in the American robin's feathers? Okay, good so. So what does it look like to live a day in an American robin's feathers? I feel like I should say more about myself, but I get into that later. I'm gonna have to be okay with being cheesy. I'm gonna be super cheesy. I need to figure out what I'm wearing too. But you know what? I'm gonna leave it done. And I'm gonna do it really well because I know how to get up on stage. I don't even have to worry about that part. But here we go. Growing up, I had passion after passion, falling in love with each one deeper by the minute. A first love of mine was the bright orange and gray bird that woke me up bright and early every morning as a child. I was in love. American robins are goofy too. And it felt like their silly behavior gave me the permission that little me needed in order for me to hop around just the same. So, what does it look like to live a day in the American robin's feathers? Well, for starters, they're incredibly intelligent. And I know some people are iffy about calling birds intelligent, but I would argue that if an African gray parrot can learn words in multiple different languages and understand the context in which it is most beneficial to use each, yeah, birds are intelligent. They follow meteorological patterns and forage when it is most convenient for them to do so. which requires enhanced pattern recognition skills along with a lot of detail orientedness. Ugh, but the thing that captured my heart was their silly way of acquiring the worm that their peach pie little hearts desired. You, robins, don't just wake up early to get the worm. They also create the perfect storm of worm haven. They start their mornings bright and early, most of the times at dawn, with a pulsating call that always seems to ring in dewy spring weather. Some days, when the worms are more difficult to source, robins perform for the worms, following their movement and making the leap. So, are you curious about what that looks like? I'm going to show you. But before I do, let's take a look around us and see if we spot an American robin. And then it's an activity to do we spot one? Dory. I want to leave 2 minutes for this. I just want to give people the time. It doesn't have to be rushed. Nothing's rushed. I feel like in the past, my speeches, I've had people who've been you gotta go faster, you gotta go faster, you gotta go faster. And I do best because people slow down with me. They meet me where I am at, as opposed to me meeting where they're at. I don't need to go 1,000 light years just for me to be heard. I can do it at my pace too. So that's what I'm learning. Okay, well, I'm going to demonstrate for you what it looks like to be an American robin that is foraging. And so then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do a little bit of the pounce, the spreading across with my feet, and then the beaking. And I'm just going to try to go into it as whatever, I'm going to be goofy on a stage and I'm going to have fun doing it. And the people who get it, get it. And the people who don't. But I think this is a great way to meet people because I can be most myself on a stage. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm excited though. My earring is weird. That though, it's cute. Okay, I digress. Okay, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to hand out the worksheet. And then I'm going to say, so on the top of this paper is an American robin. And the only difference that you'll notice from the picture, because it's in black and white, is that the male and the female will both have a certain shade of orange on their tummy. So we would have seen that earlier if we saw the American robin, but who knows if we did. Well, back to their behavior, you might be asking, why the heck do they do this, right? Why do they do this? Well, the jumping behavior is kind of like the underground equivalent of shaking up a snow globe. A worm's cage is quite literally rattled and it gets them moving through the American robin. Then the enhanced American robin hearing allows them to literally hear where the worms are moving around underground. And boom, just like that, the robin leaps forward, similar to a great blue heron launching forward with his enhanced vision and sharp beak as a spear towards a fish. They both grab their hunt and this time of year are actually taking the food back to the nests for their young. It's fledgling season, and a few months ago, it was breeding and migratory season. Each wave of change in an environment has brought about significant change for these birds, including becoming highly territorial this time of year. My favorite story about territorial birds is when my brother and his recently purchased Dodge Dart came face to face with an American robin that simply did not like the reflection staring back at him, which is common amongst birds such as northern cardinals and even eastern bluebirds. The American robin was so territorial over the area where my brother parked his car that it managed to literally break the windshield of his car. So he responded by using a reflectant windshield cover and 2 oven mitts to cover the mirrors. And it worked. The American robin was far less distressed, at least for the cause of my brother's car. They become this protective, though, with good reason. They have many, many young to raise and need to offer as abundant of resources as they can to their young as they grow and develop. They develop, though, relatively quickly, and they're often seen out of their nest as fledglings or small little tiny baby birds who don't yet seem to have an established fear of humans quite yet. Their curiosity about humans often turns into ambivalence, but nonetheless, they are a bird that can be found across nearly every state in the United States and have some pretty cool cousins on other countries. My appreciation and love for birds did start right in my backyard, but it was nurtured through the care of Steve Irwin. He was kind of like a father figure to me and to many people in my generation who had the fortunate opportunity of seeing him on their screen. He continues to inspire me today, and I hope that I continue his mission of passion through curiosity. His seamless way of communicating to and through birds or animals was so inspiring, and I loved that he both respected and appreciated the wildlife in Australia. Well, I said all of this and completely neglected to introduce myself, which I'd like to argue likely gives away my diagnosis and what has brought me to speak in front of you all today. My name is Steph, Steph, short for Stephanie, but I don't go by that name anymore. I am that quirky bird girl, and I will take any excuse to talk about birds. I am a content creator and influencer on TikTok as Learn About Birds. I am a podcaster and I lead tours over in Central Park. I have partnered with Audubon societies and interned some of the coolest people in the bird realm. And I stand in front of you today as a proud bird lover, autistic person, and member of the LGBTQIA plus community. I wasn't always okay with who I was. My multiple identities made me feel like I was too much, and so I shrunk myself for people and situations that were never meant to hold me. Birds have been my guides throughout my whole life, and they taught me that you don't have to be small to accomplish your goals. Thinking back to the American robin, if they just tiptoed their way across the ground, then they would have never learned that their large stumps could alter the behavior of their prey. And I think it's worth the shot to stomp around just like an American robin. I have struggled time and time again, and birds have seen me at my lowest and given me hopes to reach my highest. One of the biggest lessons that I learned through birds was that I can embrace something to the fullest and simultaneously accept that it is time and when it is time for me to migrate. Birds can also teach us a lot about ourselves, including strengths and growth. As mostly autistic people here in the crowd, how many times have you had a special interest or hyperfixation where maybe the environment just totally wasn't suited to you? For example, for me, it's pop punk concerts. Now, mosh pits do not suit me, unfortunately. So I have to skip out of most of the ones that I'd like to attend. But there are also many strengths that we as autistic people have that I'm excited to walk through with you all today. So I want to do another activity, and I want you to stand up or raise both of your arms if you have any of these skills. And the reason why I say both is because one arm just is not silly enough. So I simply must. As autistic people, our lived experience is not without pain, but experiencing life to its fullest means that I embrace my unique traits in my hobbies, passion, and community. You see, we have so many strengths available to us, and the great thing about some of those strengths is that skills can be built around them to support that strength even further. But now the question is, how do we get to the point of uncovering whether something is a weakness or if additional skills are needed to support a new strength? That's exactly where birds come into play, literally. And then we'll go through a few of the exercises. I have to open up the Google Docs because I made it. And the questions are, what colors of birds or trees do you see? What do you hear any birds? What do they sound like? What skill or strength? So I'll have them walk through these questions just to help them identify some of their strengths. And I say today, here, I'll just say, thanks to amazing organizations like Autistic Adults NYC for, that wrong. Thank you so much. Thank you to amazing organizations like Autistic Adults NYC for bringing autistic people together in community and allowing me to share just how birds have changed my life for the better. To continue learning about me and my journey, head over to Learn About Birds on TikTok or That Quirky Bird Girl on Apple or Spotify. And you can also see me next year on the New York Times bestsellers list. Thank you so much. Bye. Okay, that's my speech. And tis written, tis written. So now there's nothing left to do except just continue practicing it, which I'm going to keep doing. I'll probably stand up and walk around because that's the format it'll be in, ultimately. And then I'll be reading it as well. So I feel pretty prepared. I mean, obviously, if I would have done this earlier, it would have been infinity better, but that's not how the cookie crumbled. So gotta make gotta make the mush for the cookie so that I can crumble it how I so desire for tomorrow. All right, I'll be posting how it goes. Thanks for tuning in. Love you so much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you have not yet gotten your That Quirky Bird Girl pin, the link is in the bio of this video. So check it out. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I love you so, so much. See you soon.